Hello student, how are you? I hope all you well. Today we discuss about some types of drama. This is a Bildungsroman. A Bildungsroman is a literary genre that focuses on the psychological and moral growth of a protagonist from youth to adulthood. The term comes from the German words building, meaning education or formation. Its Roman meaning that is a noble. Key characteristic is a typical Binux Roman follow a specific narrative structure. Youthful conflict, loss. The story often begins with the protagonist experiencing some form of loss or disillusionment that compels them to leave home or their familiar surrounding. Journey and education. The main part of the novel involves the protagonist's journey, often both literal and figurative. They encounter various people, learn from different experiences, make mistakes, and engage in self reflection. This period is a form of informal education, conflict between self and society. The core dramatic tension involves the protagonist's struggles to reconcile their personal desires, value, and sense of self with the expectation and constraints of the wider society or social order. Maturation and acceptance. The novel concludes with the protagonist achieving some levels of maturity, self acceptance, and a stable effectivity role within a society. They have learned their place and their purpose. Famous example of Bildungsroman, Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte, Great Expectation by Charles Dickens, The Catcher in the Rye by J.D. Salinger, though its conclusion is often seen as a twist on the traditional acceptance phase. A Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man by James Joyce. In essence, it's a coming of age story that details the protagonist's development trials and ultimate integration into the adult world. Is there a specific Benedict Showman you would like to discuss, or would you like to know about a related genre? Another dramas is a picaresque. Picaresque is a literary term that refers to a genre of prose fiction that originated in Spain in the mid 16th century. It describes a story that follows the episodic adventures of a picaro, that is a Spanish for rogue or rascal, a hero of low social class who lives by his its wits in a corrupt society. Key characteristic of a picaresque novel. Picaresque novels are stories characterized as picaresque. Typical share several defining features. Rogging's protagonist, the hero, is the picaro, an appealing but amoral character, often a outcast of low social standing. They are not a noble or idealistic hero, but a cynical survivor who use cleverness and sometimes a bit of deceit to navigate life. Episodic structure. The story is told as a series of loosely connected episodes or adventures. Rather than a tight, unified plot, the picaresque often travels from place to place, serving different matters or falling into various scripts. First person narrative. The story is usually told in the first person as an biographical account, giving the reader a direct, often Plain spoken, look into the Picaro's life and mindset, realism and satire. Picaresque novels are a form of literary realism, focusing on the everyday life of common people, often with gritty details. A key element is satire, as the Picaro's adventures expose the hypocrisy and corruption of the different social classes they encounter. Little character development, the protagonist generally does not undergo significant change in character or moral perspective. They remain a resourceful rogue from beginning to end. Origin and example. The genre originated in Spain and its structure provided an early realistic alternative to the idealistic chivalric romance popular at the time. Classic example Lazarillo de Toms in 1554, Anonymous, considered the first true picaresque novel. It recounts the life of a poor boy whose servant serves several masters, is a satirical portrait of a corrupt social figure. Guzman de Alfraz, 1590, by Matthew Elliman. This novel further solidified the genre and its cynical satirical tone. Later influenced an example. The picaresque tradition influenced many later works, though some may only contain elements of the genre. Don Discord, 1605, by Miguel de Cervantes, will not a pure picaresque novel. The journey based episodic structure and blend to realism and satire draw heavily on the tradition. Moll Flanders, 1722, by Daniel Defoe, a first person narrative chronicling the adventure and misadventures of a resourceful woman navigating a difficult life. The Adventure of Huckleberry Finn, that's like 1884, by Mark Twain, often cited as a classic American picaresque. It features a low class rogue on a series of adventures down a river. Using the journey of satirized society's hypocrisies, particularly regarding races and religion. And another types of novel, it is a epistolary. The word epistolary pronounced is an adjective that refers to anything related to a characteristic of letter or letter writing. It is primarily known for two specific uses. First, epistolary novel or fiction. This is a literary genre in which the narrative is presented not through a conventional narrator but entirely or primarily through a series of documents. These documents are typically letters or epistle, which is a formal term for a letter but can also include diary, entire general newspaper clippings, or email. Example Dracula by Bram Stoker and The Color Purple by Alice Walker, a famous example of epistolary novel. Second, epistolary communication style. This simple describes a style of communication that is carried out through the writing and exchange of letters. Etymology. The word comes from the Latin word epistola, meaning letters, which itself derives from the ancient Greek, also meaning message or letter. Interior monologue. It often takes the form of an interior monologue, which is the direct presentation of a character's the process without the intervention of a summarizing narrator. Its purpose is the primary goal of the technique is to provide a deeper, more intimate and unfiltered psychological portrait of a character. It allows the readers to understand a character's motivation and worldview from the inside out rather than slowly through dialogue or external description. Its history about this is the origin of the term. The term was first used in psychology by philosopher and psychologist William James in his 1819 work. The principle of psychology to describe the continuous flowing nature of concise thought. Literary popularity, it becomes a prominent narrative technique, particularly among writers of the modernist movement in the early 20th century. This is a famous author adding jump and examples. James Jesse Ulysses is written in 1920 is a perhaps the most famous and complex example, particularly the final unpunctuated monologue of Molly Blue. Virginia Woolf, Mrs. Dalloway, and To the Lighthouse, William Faulkner, The Sound and the Fury, and As I Lay Dying, Marcel Proust, In Search of Lost Time, A Remembrance of Things Past, Dorothy Richardson, Pilgrims. I hope these types of drama you all understand well. Thank you.